Yeah, 100%. So, guys, just to quickly introduce myself, I go by the Mindhacker. What that means is I'm in the business of hacking your mind and making you transform your life into more awareness, more awakening, and at the end, just be your badass self, your authentic badass self. And being your badass self means that you have to start authentically being yourself. And authentically being yourself starts with step one is self-love. We can't do nothing in this world without self-love. And the thing about self-love is we're never taught self-love. And a lot of people today are struggling with who they are because they don't know how to love themselves. They don't even know their identity. They become a part of whatever their culture wants them to be, whatever their family wants them to be, whatever society wants you to be. And you get to a point in your life where you're confused. They call it a midlife crisis. A midlife crisis now no longer happen when you're 50. They're happening when you're 25, when you're 30. You get to a point where you're questioning everything. You're questioning your life purpose. You're questioning your passions. You're questioning your direction in life. And you start looking for it outside of you. Like the answer is out there. So you go ahead and you try 200, 300 new projects. You start horseback riding and then doing some poetry classes and, sculpturing a statue or something, whatever. Like you keep looking for this purpose of yours. You start looking at who you are and you're trying to identify what it is that you have to do and when you do it. And you keep looking outside of you. And then some of you are in careers where you're always looking for the next promotion and the next job title, and you hit it and you get it. And you're like, oh, but I'm still missing from the inside. There's something empty in the inside. And because this whole thing is actually about looking within you. And from the moment that you're born, you are a vibration of love. But then somewhere along the line, you lose that. And I always say this in everything we do is that love is the highest vibration. Love is the vibration that makes this universe turn in the correct direction. God, in whichever religion you believe in, is a vibration of love, is love. And when you just understand that everything around us vibrates at a frequency of love, then you need to ask yourself, why am I not vibrating at a frequency of love? And a lot of people today, because of social media, think self-love is getting your nails did, it's getting your hair did, it's about taking that cup of coffee and, chilling by the sunset and making sure you get a snap of it so that Instagram knows, that you did a self-love day. But that's all bullshit. That's all external. Again, it's very external stuff. Self-love is looking at your meanest, darkest, shittiest side of who you are and loving that unconditionally and accepting that unconditionally and being willing to improve it, but without judgment. We are the biggest judgmental creatures in the world toward ourselves. You are probably going to be kinder to other people than you're yourself. You're going to look at yourself in the mirror from the moment you wake up and judge your appearance, judge what you're eating, judge if you did something or didn't do something, judge all your shoulds. Should I have done this? I should have done that. Should. And then you shit all over yourself. And this whole process of doing all of this stuff, you start losing bits and bits and bits and parts of you. And then you get to this point in your life, you're searching about love. You're searching, you think if I give other people love, if I become a doormat, a people pleaser, then maybe I'm gonna get some love. It doesn't work out for you because then you realize you're just shedding and giving and giving and giving and you're not receiving. And slowly it's chipping away from who you are and you're just getting more sucked in and more lost in this process. So you try another tactic, another external validation for you to find love. But this whole journey is to go within you. And actually, it all starts when you were born. The moment you were born of innocence. You were born filled with unconditional love. You were a vibration of unconditional love. And then, due to some reason, you might have been neglected. You might have had abusive parents. You might have had parents who were busy. And today we call abuse. Abuse is not necessarily physical or emotional. Sometimes it's abuse is just your parents are busy working, trying to survive and create a life. So you didn't get the nourishment you needed. And that for a child is abuse. That's where a child is neglect. Because what do you need? When you are born out of a vibration of love, all you need is love. I always tell parents, your kid is not gonna want that Gucci belt. They're gonna want the hug they never received. They're not gonna want, that the matching jumper with the shoes. That's not what they're gonna look for. They're gonna look for the kiss they never received. So as a child between the age of 0 to 3, if you're not receiving love, you transition into the stage where you start to be confused and you start to not understand why you're not receiving love. And you're confused as why this world and your mind is so fragile at this point and underdeveloped that it cannot even understand that it's others not giving you love, but it understands it as there's something wrong with me. And self-doubt starts to creep in from the age of 3. It starts to creep in and you're now realizing no one's there for you. Maybe parents are neglectful. Maybe they're just busy with work and you don't get this source of love. And now you're realizing that there's something wrong with me. And as you grow older, this sense that was maybe just a dot is just growing and growing and growing. And every interaction you have with the people that love you the most and you love the most, it's starting to chip away from your confidence and it's starting to chip away from what you believe you are. Because remember, you were born a vibration of love. And then slowly, you're just moving away from that vibration. And then, but at some point, you grow up a little bit and you realize that if you do something the correct way, you get recognized. So for example, you ate your meal and now your mom is praising you. So you got a glimpse of love. You got good grades. Now your dad recognizes you. So you get a glimpse of love. So now you're programmed and you're starting to be conditioned that only when you do something correctly, you deserve or receive love. And that slowly takes you into this life where you are conditioned to look for external validations, things for you to do in order for you to get to that point where you feel loved. But a lot of people spend their whole life, all until the time they die, doing these things in order to receive love and never feeling enough, never feeling fully loved, always confused, always empty. If you resonate with me today, it's because you might have at some point in your life felt empty, felt lost, felt right inside your chest there was this hollow part and you can try to fill it up with some, maybe with food, maybe with occasional sex with different people, maybe with just going on vacations. You were trying to fill it up, maybe with that promotion. And you could try to fill this body up, this void up, but the void is not being filled. And no matter how far you grasp from the outside trying to fill it, this void is still there. And that's because you need to go within and heal the inner child. Heal the child from the age of 0 to 7 that did not love themselves, did not get the love they deserve. They didn't feel love. They were born a vibration of love and slowly chipped off it and then became an essence of void and emptiness. And it's so hard to get you back to that vibration because there's been so many layers of conditioning that have just been placed upon it, that you are there inside. But those games, I don't know, those Russian dolls, you pop it open and then you're the first one inside and now the doll is a life-size human and you just gotta keep unpopping yourself until the little Russian doll comes out and that's truly you. And that's where we need to fill up the love. If you're a glass, you cannot give love from a glass that's empty. And right now there's this conditioning actually that self-love is selfish, that you shouldn't, like if you start taking care of yourself, other people start judging you. And there's a culture of this, a culture of people that judge you for taking care of yourself, for loving yourself. If you're gonna say, sorry, I need some me time to meditate, oh, how dare she or he do that, right? It's like you're taking away from their time or something. And we need to break this stereotype. We need to start normalizing people taking their own time to heal or to do whatever the hell they want. It's your life. You're not programmed to spend 24 hours a day for other people. Like even, especially moms get guilted the most. If a mom says, I need to spend time alone, they're just like, oh, she's such a bad mom. Like, how can she dare your kids? Kids are kids. They're not my full-time career and job. They're a soul that came into this planet, and the soul is allowed to live its life on its own terms as long as I nurture it and take care of it. But I don't own it. It needs to build its own free will. So the best way it can build its own free will is for me to be hands off. know, helicopter moms, hands off, please. You know, we didn't need none of that, right? And it's important to normalize this behavior where any person, even in relationships, people get judged. If a woman or a man wants to go on alone time or a vacation alone, people are like, they're not going with their spouse. Yes, that's absolutely normal. We are not born joined to the hip, you know. It's like it's okay. Let that person breathe. Self-love is actually just being yourself unapologetically, but accepting that everything that you've learned in this whole life is utter bullshit, and that now it's time for you to go back, relearn everything, reparent yourself, heal the inner child, and start living life in your own terms. Now, this is not a one-day thing. This is not I'm gonna do this for 6 days and I'm healed forever. This is a journey. It is not a race. It is a marathon, and the marathon can be years. There is no deadline, and you can keep repeating the process from the beginning every time you've healed a layer. Remember, it's the Russian doll. So 20 layers into the Russian doll, you're a lot better from the beginning, but there's still 20 layers deeper inside that. So you just have to understand, you're going to shed everything and you're going to heal everything at the right time, but you need to do something about it. You need to be the captain of your own ship. You need to take charge and be ready to be like, you know what? I deserve this. I deserve to take the time right now to work on myself, because guess what? Once you heal the people around you. Once you get on board of that journey, other people are going to notice the change in you, notice your energy shift, and they're going to get on board of the ship. That's what happened to me. Like, you see me now, and everyone's like, oh, Hiba's a great energy. Everyone wants to hang out with Hiba because she's fun, full of energy. Hiba's never tired, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that wasn't me like 6, 8 years ago. Like, I used to be the person that pops off. Like, you see sides of my Tupac, but I was the person that if you did this, I would pop off. I go from 0 to 200 real quick, you know? And I was like high school, you don't even want to know Hiba from high school. Hiba in high school was a troubled child, constantly always in fights, constantly angry. Then I grew into this super competitive entrepreneur and a person in the corporate world, a super competitive. I will beat you no matter what. I cared about winning. I didn't care about your feelings. I didn't care about anything. And if you cried or were emotional, I'd be like, you are weak. That was my mentality. But that's not because I was a mean person. That's because as a child, I was so traumatized. My upbringing is not rainbows and sprinkles and all that good stuff. I had a tough upbringing. I was abused emotionally, physically, near borderline torture. And I only knew how to protect myself by being cold and very aggressive. And as time began, when people were like, oh my gosh, you're so cold, you're so aggressive, I didn't give a shit. Only when I went into depression did I understand I've been putting these layers, my Russian dolls all over me, protecting myself because my inner child was scared. And the only way my inner child could actually survive in this world was to put on these layers and layers and layers of protection. And then I started my healing journey, started understanding that everything I learned, it wasn't written. This is not how I had to live my life. I could change it by any moment, but I had to choose to change it. And I chose to change it. I was like, no more. I am the captain of my ship. No matter, no, people around me were going, what are you doing? It's like, I was doing meditation before meditation was cool. Now it's new age. Everybody's into meditation. I was doing meditation before it was cool. I was staging myself before it was cool, and people were like, what is this hocus pocus stuff you're on? And I'm like, I don't know, it's working for me. But then I did the work. I went inside and I healed my inner child. The first time I ever met my inner child, she was crying. I cried days just to heal my inner child. The first time I did it, it was hilarious. And notice I just said the first time I did it, because there was a second time and a third time and a fourth time, because the layers just got deeper and I got a better understanding of who I am as a person and why I had to go through what I went through in order to where I am today. Because it was a beautiful shift for me. Once I started removing the layers of all the pain, I was guided into the direction of where I am today to help other people. And today I know that I had to go and experience all that, so that when I'm talking to you and someone goes, well, I'm depressed, I'm like, I've been there. Somebody tells me I've been abused, I'm like, I've been there. I know I can resonate with you. I got out of it. You can get out of it too. So we have to go and start healing our inner child, because that will take us closer and closer to our purpose. And the minute we're aligned in our purpose, then everything starts to fit in. You know, the puzzle pieces just become easy. And then you no longer have to ask, why am I here in the world? 6 years ago, when I was in the corporate world, I was getting paid a whole ton of money. I was the head of happiness for Majidul Fatim. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. I was asking myself, what is my life purpose? No amount of money, no amount of job security, no amount of anything makes anything feel everything. I was still asking myself, why am I here? Why am I on this planet? Today, I know I am on this planet. I'm congruent, but it's not because everything just fell into my lap. It's because I was slowly taking actions that were designed for me because I was healing myself and loving myself. I'm okay with saying no to people where before, like I would say no, but I would think about it for 3 days, be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, but I should have said that. But today I can comfortably be like, no, I'm okay with it. It's a boundary because I love myself. I respect myself. We stay sometimes in relationships longer than we should because we don't respect ourselves, because we care what other people think. We stay in jobs that we're not happy in because, again, we care what society thinks about us. We care what people are going to say, what your mother's going to say, what your father, what your sister, whatever. We care so much. But the only person you need to care about is you. Because when you start putting care into you, the world around you becomes to care for you. But it's an inside job first. I can't respect you if you don't respect you. We attract what we give out. It's the law of attraction. If you don't love yourself, you're going to attract people around you that don't love you or don't show you the vibration of love. If you don't respect yourself, you're going to attract people around you who don't respect you. That's just how the law of the universe works. Everything we need is within us and everything is inside of us. We heal that inside of us, then we heal whatever happens to us. So what I did is, after I've been going through this journey for a while, I get this question, and Danny was right when she said in the beginning. She goes, the most question we ever get asked, maybe every IG live that I do, everybody asks me this question: how do you self-love? How do you self-love? Because I really blame social media on this, because social media made it so easy. They even made checklists and games where like, play chess today and do that today, and that's gonna be self-love. And I was just like, that's going to take you baby steps into at least focusing on yourself, but it's not going to heal your inner child, which makes you feel full of love. Why do we heal the inner child? Everything, like we said, is programmed from that childhood state. We assume that the child is in the past and that life is over, but the child is still within you. These moments where you throw a tantrum sometimes, or you don't get your way and you're like, that's your inner child coming out to play. That's your inner child that's like, oh, I don't like that, because the adult in you wouldn't act that way. Even sometimes, we categorize people and we're like, they act childish. They're not acting childish. Is that their inner child is coming out and showing up in that situation, and you just recognize the inner child. And sometimes there's some people that you can be super playful with and you can have a lot of fun with, and your childlike comes out, and you even said, oh, I was having fun, like I was acting like a kid with them. Yes, 100%, because you recognize the child in you come out and enjoy the time and party and have fun. So our child self is within us, and all we have to do is go back and first meet it, acknowledge it, build a rapport with it, and then heal the relationship and reparent it. Because think of it as like a date. You haven't met your inner child for a while. You're not just gonna go in, bang the door down and you're like, all right, we're healing right now. No, it's not gonna happen. You need to come like you're like about to date somebody. You need to tiptoe. You need to get to know your inner child. After you get to know your inner child, you're gonna build trust, rapport between you and your inner child. Once you build the rapport between you and your inner child, now you're ready to heal. Now you're ready to be there for your inner child. You're ready to reparent. And sometimes you're going to have to go into your deepest, darkest secrets and your deepest, darkest memories and say, yeah, this happened to me. This happened to this inner child. And I need to heal it with the inner child so that we can move on in the past. Everything that is affecting you today started as a child. I do about 15 sessions a day with different people. And I've noticed that exactly the same two beliefs, they come up and resurface every single session. If it's your first session with me, I know what two beliefs to work on. I'm not good enough and I'm not loved. And both the memories come from a childhood state. So we're humans, we're just robots at this point. Everybody's copying the same behavior. Obviously the memories are different, but the bottom decision, the inner child makes, or the child makes, is that I'm not good enough or that I'm unloved. And you live your whole life feeling inferior or empty or lost because something happened in your childhood. And that's why we go in and we fix it from the inner childhood. Once it's healed from the child, you notice the change instantaneously. You notice the change in a week's time. It's that easy, because another situation will pop up, something that you usually react to, and then poof, you're not reacting the same way. You know, your mom is no longer triggering you every time she tells you to fix your makeup or do your hair or fix your top. You know, your dad doesn't trigger you when he's like, oh, you should have done that or this, because you healed the child. The child feels love. So it's just going to replicate that vibration up to into your integrated adult. And this is a famous technique. So inner child healing has been going on for ages, for centuries. It's ancient, but it's about how do we focus it on love, because of different modalities use different ways. But self-love, I believe everything starts within. I can't make you confident, but you can make yourself confident if you believe within you that there is something within you that needs to be healed when it comes to confidence. You know, a lot of people come to me, oh, Hiba, I like your confidence. You come and you speak up. Have you ever been not confident? Yes, it has happened from trauma. You know, I remember, I think I was like 15 or 16. I had, I think it was 15. I had to do my first presentation about something in biology, and I stood in front of a class, and it was a duo, two people, me and a girl, and she presented. And then when I presented, I was shaking, I was sweating so bad. You know, it's like my hair was actually straightened, that it turned curly from how much I was sweating during that presentation. And it wasn't that really made the shift for me. It was that when the teacher asked for feedback, people felt sad to say that I was bad, so they gave me the pity she was okay. That hurt me enough to say that was never gonna ever happen to me again. So, but I went back and healed that inner child that had to overprove herself, right? Because you learn both ways. That situation like that could have made somebody less confident, or for me as an overachiever, it made me like over assertive and over, like my throat chakra was super expanded. We had to bring it back to alignment. But everything in our life, in our childhood, if it's traumatic, it affects us. So, and then people go, well, I didn't go through any trauma, you know. Yeah, because there's three types of trauma. There's your mini trauma, so things just like, you know, your mom says you can't get that ice cream today, and your heart is broken as a 3-year-old, right? And then there's trauma that happens frequently and reoccurring, but it's the same kind of trauma. So for example, being verbally abused every day, or you know, an occasional slap here, slap there, screaming, whatever it is, but it's happening occasionally. And then the third time is a major trauma or a chronic trauma, where it's like an earthquake or a war or a rape, something that happens one time, but it's traumatic enough. So we've all gone through either all or one, but you go through trauma, but different traumas affect people in different ways. So yeah, so this is where it takes us to this journey of healing, and healing is super important. And again, it's not a marathon. I still work on myself every single day. I have my own healer. I see her, actually I see 2 healers a week. So I see an energetic healer, and then I see like a reprogramming healer every single week. Now, this is how dedicated you have to be to the game. And I always tell people, if you don't want to see somebody to heal you, you can heal yourself, right? It's just, I just like having another perspective, because just like driving, you have like a blind spot. I'd like somebody to see my blind spots that I don't see about myself, because you can be aware, but you still need another eye to look at you. But again, you can learn how to heal yourself. You can go on meditations online, classes, whatever. You can learn. Accessibility, we are so lucky that we are in this time air dimension right now, where we can access anything we want in like a click of a button. Like I wanted to learn shamanism and how to do shamanism healing. I went online, and you can do this stuff online now. I'm like, oh look, and back in the day you had to probably go sleep with a monk for like 365 days in a hut in the middle of the Amazon jungle, and then you became a shaman. So we are so grateful. And so yeah, and this is really it. So I don't know if people have questions, we can answer questions, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm intrigued, so I kind of want to pull apart a few little bits. Well, the first thing, I
Sure.
always have this curiosity for like anyone that's listening in, I think, I don't know, that the first bit when you're almost like reeling off, like, let's say the symptoms, kind of
Mm.
felt a little bit triggered there, felt like you were in my life and you were just reading out everything that was on my list to work on. Like, how does self-love, and please, like, you can use the Q&A button or you can use the chat room, the chat button as well. How does this show up in your life? Because I think having these sort of like tangible, almost kind of like examples can also help us, talk a little bit around those.
Okay.
And my second
100%.
was
Yeah,
just
go for it. That's your second one.
my second curiosity is, as to the people that are listening, is this the first time that you are hearing it packaged in this way? Because I think exactly what Hiba was saying from kind of my journey of searching for self-love around every dead end, back corner, one night stand, crappy job, it was literally, it just felt like it was never going to end. And when I heard this kind of context for the first time about inner child and I'm just like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
I've actually
Yeah.
spent 20 something years down every wrong street trying to figure this out.
Danny, it's. I feel we've been done a disservice throughout our upbringing. We've really been disserviced because we've been taught to focus on all things that are not important. A lot of people now take my opinions about school, and I'm going to say it openly. I don't think kids should go to school. I think as long as you teach them how to be good human beings and teach them the virtues of life, meaning what is a virtue? Kindness, compassion, love, loyalty,
Amen.
right? Discernment, okay? Tolerance, things like this, virtues like that. That's what a child needs. They don't need to know the algorithm of, I don't know, a right square or whatever it is. I've been out of school for a while. I don't know what they teach, but you know what I mean, right? They don't need to know the history of whatever that happened. They don't need to know the history of what happened in, I don't know, in a war between the US and UK. What they need to know about is who were the heroes, about people who are making movements in this world, people who've changed the world, right? They don't need to know about the Hitlers of the world, but they need to know about the people who are unknown, these hidden soldiers that have maybe changed the whole generation, right? So I feel we've all been done a disservice by this traditional schooling system and the cultures, because we're constantly told to focus on what's outside of us. Now, because of that, we have people who are lost today. We have people who are uncertain where their footing is on this world. And if something like a great awakening does not happen for them, they stay asleep and they stay in this path and they come back into this life, at some point, and they're still reliving it. But a lot of us have to, in a way, we're programmed to feel a lot of pain before we make a decision. So you probably made the shift from corporate to safe space because something dramatic happened to you, either, with a divorce, or you lost something, something dramatic has to happen. I shifted gears because I lost my father. I lost all my money. I got diagnosed with diabetes all within the same 3 months. That was like a dark night of the soul, something that hits you so hard for you to be like, I'm done. Enough. What is happening? I didn't sign up for this shit. And then you wake up and you start to look, and the search and this curiosity, and you're full of query and you want to go and search. That's where you start finding out that, oh shit, I was doing it wrong. But we've been done a disservice. And I feel our journey in this life is to actually see how we can break this pattern for generations, for all generations to come. Like, your son is blessed that, you're probably reparenting him and parenting him completely opposite than how you were parented, right? And maybe you're now telling him things like, it's all within you and you're the captain of your own ship, and you have to love yourself and all this affirmations. We never got any of that. And back in the day, if you parents heard you saying this kind of stuff, it's like you're being too soft on the kid. So we're in this change, and it's a beautiful evolution. And the way self-love shows up, it doesn't have to be things that are dramatic. If you just aren't able to say no to people, that's a sign that you don't love yourself. If you let people, you know, disrespect you, or like a boss kind of walk all over you, that's a sign that you don't love yourself. If you put everybody before you, that's a sign that you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
And they've packaged it for you, they've marketed for you in a beautiful way, you know, that you're a giver. You know, like it's like and then people come and put this badge of honor. I'm a giver. You know, I'm like, beautiful. Give yourself first then. You know, if you're a giver, why is your cup empty? You're disservicing yourself by being a giver. Give yourself first. You can't give from an empty cup. When we get on the airplane, they tell you the first thing to do is put the oxygen mask on you and then help somebody. They don't be like, go pass the oxygen mask to everybody, then you die, but that's okay because you're a giver. Right? So we have to be really cautious about all this programming. Women specifically, the bar is higher for women. Okay. A man, you know, he's busy. No one wants to talk to him. He's going to work, and it's still happening today. I know somebody talked to me a few weeks ago and said, Hiba, you keep saying that women must be empowered. Women are already empowered. I'm like, please, let's not play this game. All right. Once I see that a woman and a man can get paid the same, enter the same place, and both be treated with respect the same, then I'll tell you all women are empowered. There are still countries right now where women have zero rights. So women are not empowered. There are some lucky countries or some countries that are progressive, there where women are empowered. But there's no equality at the moment. So we'll be lying if we sit there and go like, everybody's empowered and we shouldn't use the word empowerment. No, we should. We should talk about it because it's happening right now. So women, there's a higher bar for women. A man is not expected still to be like a full-on parent. He's not expected to be this, there's no expectations placed on him. But a woman, there's a lot of expectations being placed on her. A man is only a financial, but there's still that stupid burden that a man has to carry the financials, and then there's the woman has to do everything else. And she falls into that trap because they market it so well. You know, I think religions actually market this the best because they tell you heaven is under the feet of the mother. So slave your whole life, put everybody first because you go into heaven. Like they really package it. The marketing is beautiful, right? And we fall into that marketing trap. And not at one point do you sit there and be like, oh, what do I do for myself? But then instead you're filled of shame, with guilt. If you're feeling shame on guilt of ever buying yourself something, spending time with yourself, doing anything for you, it's already a sign that you don't have self-love.
Yeah.
So it's all encompassing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to throw some questions at the mix. We've got loads of questions, so I'm going to try and work my through and get through as many as possible. So you were just talking about situations when that means that we're not loving ourselves, and someone's asking, I keep seeking for validation. Does this mean that I don't love myself?
100%. If you're seeking external validation, if you're more concerned about what people think about you and how they can give you love, then there is something missing within you. And that's usually because, like I described the little cycle, you were born innocent and it was chipped away. And then you were starting to get programmed that if you do something, you get the external validation. And today you're just on robot mode, doing that consistently, trying to hope to get the love that fills you within, but it's not going to be from the outside. Not at all.
Someone's commenting as well. So making progression and then being diagnosed with diabetes, managing to reverse that, but giving up, and now back into that sort of diabetes diagnosis. Why did I stop?
Yeah, you see, with diabetes, the belief structure around it is defeat. So you feel defeated, and every time you're going to feel defeated, you're going to bring the diabetes back. Right. And I'm going to assume you were diagnosed with type 2. That's why it's quickly reversible and comes back. So type 2 is all about defeat and self-love. Because why? Because type 1 is the kind where something happens with your hormones, your insulin levels and all that. So your pancreas stops creating insulin. Type 2 is when it's creating it, but not burning it at the right level. So your pancreas has insulin. Now, what is that area? This is the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is actually connected to all of your control hormones, your pituitary gland. That's where all the stress is regulated. So imagine you put stress on your body. This is already a weakened area for you. And guys, we store stress in our body. We don't store it somewhere outside of us. It's all stressed in our body. So you already have a gland that is part of the function of it, controls hormones. And now you're adding the hormone of stress to it, and it gets stuck in there, and then it slows it down. So it keeps coming back. But ultimately, you feel defeated. And that's why it keeps coming back. So you'll need to actually understand, what is it that till today keeps you feeling defeated? And there's two ways to look at it. And I always teach this in mind hacking. Look at the beauty of it. What is it benefiting you? And you know, that Hiba, come on, you know, like there's nothing, I benefit nothing from diabetes. I'm like, I hear you. I swear I'm not being an asshole. My Siri just came up. Yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry. I swear I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's just there's something within our mind that programs us to keep doing a bad behavior or repeating a limiting belief because it serves us some way. I'll tell you my story because I can only speak about myself. When I was diagnosed with diabetes, it came from stress, and I got type 1, which means my pancreas stopped working. Okay, it was like no more insulin. And I was working on it energetically, and I was working on it with my belief structure. So I cleared up all of the defeated codes, blah, blah, blah. And my diabetes wouldn't reverse. Okay, my pancreas wouldn't become, functioning. And then I asked myself, how does it benefit me to still have diabetes? And I had like this answer pop up, and it was like, I don't fight with my mom anymore because she's scared that if we argue, I get stressed and my sugar levels go high. Right? And it was like, imagine, like that's the first thought my mind had. Like, it's good because you're sick and your mom won't fight with you. And I swear, the day I was diagnosed with diabetes, my mom stopped fighting with me. And I come from a history of me and her battling. The day I was diagnosed, it was done. So my body or mind is programmed and like, look, you're receiving love. She stopped fighting with you. Hold on to this thing. It's important. So no longer. And another thing I would add is stop acting like diabetes is the problem. We have to be the vibration of love. If you keep saying, I want to get rid of my diabetes, I want to cut the diabetes out of my body, I'm going to get rid of this diabetes. Imagine this was an energy, an entity you're talking to, a human being, and you're giving it all this negative vibration. Instead, be like, thank you. Send it love. Send it so much love because it's giving you so much awareness. Give it love, take care of it, and thank it because you're realizing what a badass you are because of it. So when we start switching how we treat diseases, we can heal it instantaneously, especially type 2 diabetes. Easy.
I'm going to open Hiba's hospital. It's
Yes.
going to be it's so true. And this is something that you were talking about in our session that we had at Tanya's Tea House. And again, because I can't see people's faces, it's breaking my heart a little bit, but you could just sort of see that, like, oh, I really like I'm going to show it love for you. But it is, I think at this time when, we are just in sort of crisis mode, we've got to do something radical, right? We've probably tried everything.
100%.
So I urge people to listen very carefully to this kind of insight that we are being dropped here, very much just to kind of take this on board. Okay, where should I go next? So how is the regional culture and social conditioning impacting our journey? Juicy one.
It's all of it. All of it is impacting, but you have to come to a point and decide when is enough. A lot of times people they were like, oh, but you have it easy. Listen, I come from the Gulf. Okay, my parents are Kuwaiti. So if you want tradition, my mom wears the hijab. My sister knows the Quran from A to Z, right? I come from a devout family. I had to spend some of my years as the black sheep, but today they listen to everything I say. They respect everything I do. They didn't change. I changed within me. I healed within me because I was taking offense to everything they were saying and doing, and I was at war. My aura was just war, and today my aura is love. So when I'm with them, I can love them and respect them. And even if we have different views, I respect that. And they do the same back to me. Nothing happened to change that, except that I worked on healing myself. So we have to also make a decision as when is it time to live for ourselves and when is it time to live for other people. And I made a decision when I was in my depression that I was going to start living for myself. I didn't really care what anybody thinks. I still don't care what anybody thinks. If I find that it's the right thing for me, I'm going to do the right thing for me. My whole thing in life is do you. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, just do you. So it's beautiful. Yes, culture does affect us, but to a point. And then we have to start taking accountability. And the accountability is I am the captain of my ship. I can play on that game and use it as an excuse. Culture did this to me. My parents did that to me, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. Or I can take ownership of my life and say, I don't care how people live their life. I don't care what society thinks of me. I'm going to live my life authentically myself. You guys would be surprised. You know, when I started this journey, people told me, Hiba, no one's going to come to a therapist that has half her head shaved off and curses and wears hip hop clothing. And I said, well, too bad for them. I'm not the therapist for them. I'm fully booked 2 weeks in advance, most weeks. Okay, sometimes a month in advance today. And people, I don't advertise, people go through word of mouth. And this is because people told me there's a specific way a therapist needs to look like. Now, I'm just telling you this not to impress you, but to impress upon you that you can do that too. Just be authentically yourself. But how do we become authentically yourself? We heal our inner child. Simple as that.
Love it. So talking about, so we've mentioned depression a couple of times throughout stuff, and obviously this is, mental well-being, mental health platform. So when somebody is forgetting their qualities and their values, and they're sort of relating to sometimes their, is it because of their depression? Is something that they've kind of reached sort of suicidal thoughts? Does this have anything to do with my childhood trauma?
Everything has to do with your childhood trauma. I'm just put that as a blanket statement. Everything has to do with your childhood trauma, unless you had chronic trauma as you were getting older. So for example, if somebody got raped at 21, or a plane threw them out of the plane, or you had a plane crash at 18, I don't know, right? Even if you had a plane crash at 50, that's chronic trauma. But most likely everything has happened between your childhood. Now, mental health is super important, but here's the key thing. When we start getting suicidal thoughts, there's a lot of judgment towards that. And actually, it's because death is frowned upon. Death is looked at like you're a quitter, but sometimes it's the soul who decides that, I've had enough, I'm gonna try to do this again. So we need to shift that stigma around. If you had a suicidal thought, that means, oh, no, Now, if you had a suicidal thought and you still choose to be in this planet and get better, because it's a personal choice, right? If you choose to get better and be on this planet, seek help. It's important to seek help. Sometimes where you're under the water, you can't swim up without a hand pulling you up, and you need the hand to pull you up. So seek for help. Now, does that mean you lost your values and you're losing who you are? No, leave that bullshit aside. That's all judgment. At this point, when you're underwater, you're not really thinking about values. It's so dark in there. And if you've never been depressed, you really don't know how dark it is. It is super dark. So leave that judgment aside and just park it. And if these thoughts comes, no. But the most important thing you can do, if you choose to heal and continue on this journey called life, you have to actually just ask for help. And I know, Danny, you guys always have some resources. I always tell people on my Instagram, if you just say, hey, but I'm trying to commit suicide, you don't pay me nothing. You get free sessions until you're okay, right? Because your life is more important than anything. Again, if you choose to do that. And I always like to keep that disclaimer, because we have free will in this life and there's no judgment either way.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting as well, and I can only speak from personal experience as well. I have, on paper, I've pretty much got it together. I tick pretty much every box. I create boxes to be ticked also, but still have had this darkness, emptiness follow me around so tightly, so closely, the heaviest thing to carry around as well at the same time. Yeah. And when I kind of started hearing about inner child and like healing kind of, I think it was more understanding that empty subconscious being filled in those 0 to 7 years. And I very much had this narrative. I had a great childhood. I had a great childhood. Nothing bad ever happened to me. I had a great childhood. And it's been so interesting, deep, amazing, funny. Like, I've gone through every emotion, really trying to get under the skin of this. And I think to what you were sort of saying before about, you know, trauma, abuse, it doesn't come in one package.
No.
And it looks different to other people, and what can cause depression and suicidal thoughts in somebody may not impact somebody else, and we're all in a kind of different path. And I think from my experience, it was more like you were saying about busy parents, and I was an only child, my parents are only children. There's loneliness, a lot of loneliness in my kind of upbringing, which you know, that's traumatic, but you don't give it credit, because I had everything that I needed. I was
because
surrounded by family.
Loneliness is probably one of the darkest feelings, because that's when the void starts, right? And God bless your parents. It sounds like just didn't know any better.
They did their best.
Exactly. They did their best. Yeah.
And, you know, so I think being a parent now and sort of seeing that, you can see how a word lands and a word drops. How easy it is. Somebody that's in the know can do things. I'm like, cancel, clear, delete. You know.
I like that, cancel, clear, delete. Yeah, 100%. And kids are becoming way more conscious as well. You know, they're being more awakened, just because if the parents awaken, your pineal gland is already open and activated. So you have a child and they're naturally part of your DNA. So the pineal gland is activated. And so they're woke. They're woke as 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. They're woke now. So so sometimes they're woke and they make us more woke.
That's the learning opportunity throughout all this kind of thing. So the last question I've sort of saved towards the end is the title, what do we do about it question. So first one, is there a book or method to meet that inner child? Like, where do I sign up? Where do I get on this train?
Yeah. So we're doing this because I launched last week, actually, my Mastering Self-Love Journal. It's a digital bundle, but I print it out for myself because I go through everything that I tell people to go through. And this is what it looks like, 100 pages of complete inner child healing. And it comes with 11 meditations. Now, my meditations, I love to meditate. And I believe that meditation is the key to meeting your soul and aligning yourself. So there's a meditation that you can do every single day before you do the exercises to get you ready. And like I said, that's going to be the journey. There's 4 phases in this focus, in this Mastering Self-Love Journal. The first part is meeting your inner child. So getting to know it. Then you're going to build rapport. And then you're going to reparent yourself, and then you're going to move on to integration. And it's step by step. And again, I tell people there's no timeline to complete this. You'll know how to do that. And on top of this, there's an accountability group on Facebook where I go and people ask their questions and I help them out throughout the journey. So everything is available on my website, so hibabalfaqih.com. And as a special treat for you guys today, because I love Safe Space, I put a promo code, and the promo code is I love Safe Space. Ta-da! So if you guys need that, just go onto the website. I'm sure Danny is gonna share all this information on how to do it and get it and where you can get the links from. But it's hibabalfaqih.com. If you got me on Instagram, click on it, and you can use the promo code I love Safe Space.
That is the best promo.
Oh, there you go.
I've heard this week.
Yeah, I was thinking about what should be the promo code, and I wrote self-love, and I was like, no, I love space, Safe Space.
I love it. I'm just putting it in the chat so everybody.
Awesome.
You can click on that. So, but open it and then just listen to the end of the conversation, then go and make sure you look that up. It's something that I'm doing personally, and I was saying.
Yeah, I know you're part of the crew. Did you start?
I did start. I'm in. I've done the first exercise, so I started yesterday.
Okay.
And I think I was saying this to you the other day, I just keep hearing inner child. It's like, it's something. Yeah.
That's your angels. Your angels, you're getting guidance. We have spirit guides out there. And sometimes when we see something reoccurring, that's our internal system, our guidance, as well as our spirit guides and everything around in the energetic realm, guiding you into the direction of what you need to move on to the next stage of your life. They're not Instagram ads, guys, but these are just things you'll see around. Instagram ads, they listen.
Yeah, this is more like a punch in the face, I think.
Yeah.
So there's another interesting question. So where do we start this healing journey, and how do you know when you need help versus when you can do this on your own?
When in doubt, ask for help. That's the best way to summarize it. If you have to ask that question, ask for help. Because if you knew you got this, you would have done it. Simple. No doubt.
I'm going to have to write that down. I need to use that. Because we get asked that question a lot, you know. It's one of those things that I think...
Yeah. Just when in doubt, ask for help.
And it's around us in so many different forms, isn't it? And we have such a block on asking for help. There's a real kind of like a lot of stuff.
But you know, asking for help is part of self-love. You feel worthy enough to receive. So when you feel unworthy, you don't ask for help. Because then you think, oh, people will think I'm dependent on them, or that I need them, and all this like self-doubt comes in, which is the second circle in your growth, right? But it's actually, the truth is, it's people who can ask for help comfortably and the people who've mastered self-love.
What isn't self-love?
Nah, you know, it's everything starts inside. Everything starts in here. If it's not here, it's outside of you, it's not going to help you. It's here. What's in the heart is the most important. You fix this, everything gets fixed. People tell me I have money issues. I'm like, love yourself more. They'll be like, I can't. I'm like, love yourself more, because it's all worthiness. If I love myself, then I'm worthy to attract abundance from the outside. If I'm not healed inside, I have a block towards abundance because I feel unworthy. Everything outside of us is within us.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's kind of like, I don't know, you've said this, like, sometimes I kind of get a little bit triggered by this stuff, and it's like, oh, I know it. There it is again. And I know you have an answer for that too. So one last kind of comment. We've got maybe one more question. Sure. If anyone does have, still waiting.
No problem.
So why do I go and connect with random people online and don't connect with the people that are living with me? For example, my husband, and I need to talk to new people online.
Yeah, it's again that approval, that seeking approval from the outside world. Now, when we have a toy and we play with the toy for a while, we get bored of the toy. And then we don't appreciate the toy as much. And we start looking for the next shiny object because we're looking for a feeling. And now I'm certain that the toy in my hand is not going to give me that feeling. So I go look for that feeling outside. And then it will give me a feeling, but then I'll lose the feeling after a while because I got used to it. I'll tell you a funny story. So I took my car. I drive a Hummer. My Hummer is souped up. It's a sexy car. And I took it to service 2 weeks ago, and it was major repair. So I was without the car for 10 days. And then I rented a white Chevy, basic, got nothing. And then every time we got the car back 2 days ago, and me and my friends, every time we see the car, I'm like, oh, Hummer, it's such a sexy car. It's such a sexy car. And today my friend Alex asked me, why are we so in love with the Hummer again? I said, because we appreciated it now. Because for a whole week's time, our eyes, were conditioned to this car that we didn't really like. But when we had the Hummer in the beginning, we forgot how precious it was. We had to let it go. And then when it came back, we appreciated it. And that's just human conditioning. So it's the same story. The husband is there, but we lost the interest. It's not appreciated anymore. So we're going to go look for that feeling somewhere else. But the feeling is not going to go there because you have to fill a void from within you. And that void is you are trying to feel love from the outside. So you're occupying focus. Focus is what all these social media platforms fight over. They want your focus. And your focus right now is focused on getting attention, love, whatever that feeling you're searching for outside of you. Once you find it within you, you can then attract a healthy relationship, or even the relationship with your husband can become healthy. But until then, until you find it within you, you're going to keep going on this cycle.
Yeah, makes total sense, right? And I think we do that not just with people, with things, with
things, yeah.
So we've got one last question, and then we are good for tonight because I'm respectful of time.
All right.
So I feel bad when I get noticed for good things that I do, but I don't feel anything when I get noticed for bad things that I do.
Yes, my darling, because you have been conditioned with abuse. Abuse seems to have been a normal thing that you grew a thick skin for, but you also build a level of unworthiness with it. So when somebody's complimenting you about something good, it's probably something that's never happened for you. So you feel unworthy to receive that. But when somebody tells you you suck, then you're like, yeah, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I got a thick skin from this. So this is what happens. I'm going to make a big assumption that there was some abusive trauma growing up. Probably both parents or one parent consistently told you that you were not good enough, or was this very aggressive personality. So you were conditioned and you've mastered how to deal with anything negative. But then that also built a layer underneath it of feeling unworthy. And boom, put together, that's what's going on with your life right now.
Does again all make sense, and that's like, you know, I think it seals my deal. Like, what self-love isn't. There's not much on that list. It's kind of it's all there, isn't it? You know, we talk a lot of sessions about awareness, and I think that's kind of thrown in, you know, for good measure in this, in like bucketfuls as well. And I'm just glad that we get to have this conversation today, because like I said, it is one of our most requested topics. I hope this has opened people's hearts, minds, eyes to the possibility, to kind of understanding a little bit more. I think sometimes it's a lot, you know, especially if this is the first time you're doing stuff like childhood trauma, what?
Yeah.
Again,
100%. But let me tell you one thing, Danny, is that no one's going to do this for you. You can say it's a lot. You can say it's too much. I'm not ready. That's all bullshit excuses, right? If you want it bad enough, you'll take action. You'll do something about it. If you're used to this life where you make excuses, if you're used to the life where you make excuses consistently, then you're just going to fall into this pattern of making an excuse and going back into the wheel of doing nothing. The only person that's going to change your life is you. It's not me. It's not Danny. It's not Safe Space. It's you. We're tools here. Use our tools. We're tools to help you get the journey. But the only person that's going to get their ass up in the morning, listen to the meditation, work on themselves is you. Simple as that.
Mic drop. Yeah, I've got to sum it up that way. I you know, listen to these words. It's going to be available on our Facebook group, which is Safe Space Social, for anybody that isn't in the group as well. Come and re-listen to this. Definitely go onto Hiba's website right after this call and download her self-love journal, everything that's within it. There is so much value in there, like 11 different meditations.
11 meditations, yes.
Every day, things you can kind of work on your own pace. And I'd love to have you guys as my accountability partners, because I'm in there, I'm working through my shit, I'm in there as well. So come and get involved. And last but not least, the first question that was thrown in saying, I have no question, I just wanted to say, I love you, Hiba.
Oh, thank you. Namaste. I really appreciate all the love I'm getting.
So thank you so much from us, from everybody that's listening in, everybody that's on the Facebook group, everyone's watching on the replay, potentially this is going to be on YouTube as well. We love you all so much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And until next time, my friends, stay safe.
Until next time, girl.
Woke.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Have a good evening.
Stay safe and woke. I like that. Bye.
Bye.